States are grappling with the question of how to reopen schools in the fall amid the pandemic. Coronavirus task force member Dr. Anthony Fauci is urging officials to work toward getting kids back into classrooms. Bianna Golodryga takes a look at what schools are doing to try and minimize those risks and reopen safely.
In what could be described as the country's most ambitious mobilization effort in recent history, school districts across the country are issuing plans for how more than 50 million K-12 students will be returning to school, some just weeks away. Officials in Marietta, Georgia and Nashville, Tennessee have given families two options for when classes resume the first week in August, in person or distance learning. The Denver Public School District announced a return to full in-person instruction August 17th, with health screenings provided for all students, teachers, and staff prior to arrival.
We'll continue to monitor, and so we'll be ready for either scenario, in person or staying in distance learning.
California, currently experiencing a spike in cases, says its 10,000 schools will have a plan in place in time for late August and September reopenings. In the Northeast, the governors of the states initially hit hardest by COVID-19, but now seeing a decline in cases, are hopeful that that trend will continue and classes can resume in the fall.
We have every expectation that our kids will return to their schools come September.
Continued isolation poses very real risks to our kids' mental and physical health.
Even states experiencing the brunt of the virus now, like Texas and Florida, are still planning for an August return to the classroom.
There's not going to be a substitute for that in-person instruction.
Experts agree.
We've seen massive public health consequences to these school closures in terms of virtual dropouts. We cannot afford as a country to keep our schools locked down for another year.
Joseph Allen is the lead author of a new report on risk reduction strategies for reopening schools. Among them, distance, hygiene, mask wearing, and proper ventilation.
We know these risk reduction strategies work, even with a full load of kids in the class. Kids are at lower risk of getting this virus. They're at lower risk of serious adverse consequences. Early evidence looks like they're at lower risk of transmitting to adults.
That may not be enough to convince many parents and teachers that returning to the classroom will be safe.
One jurisdiction, it's under 5%, and in another jurisdiction, it's about 80% or more of parents who say they intend to keep their children home. And so you can see how it's so difficult to do a statewide plan when even from community to community, people have such varying ideas about how they want school to look.
And that was Bianna Golodryga reporting. Now, CCSD is voting on its reopening plans on July 9th. Superintendent already unveiled some of the plans, which would include starting in August and what he calls blended learning. That means students will go to school 2 days a week and then learn digitally the other 3 days. Some students also have the option to learn entirely from home if they choose to.